Welcome to Love Byte.
My girlfriend and I have been dating for almost 2 years, and she's been living with me for almost 1 year. We met online in 2020, so we've known each other for a while. We didn't start dating until 2022, and it was a long-distance relationship for the first year. She moved here last June when I flew to her state, and we drove halfway across the country to live in my state over the course of a week. During the trip, things happened that made it a rough experience. One example is when I was driving her car and accidentally slammed the brakes so I didn't miss a turn we were supposed to take. She got so angry with me that I slammed her brakes because her car is old, and I of course apologized and told her it was an accident. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the night, and it was things like this that caused me to build some resentment towards her over time for her not being able to be as forgiving for little things that would happen like this. I mean, we were on a milestone road trip, and while I understand long trips like that can be stressful, I feel like we should have been able to enjoy it and each other's time more. More things like this would happen over time where things that should have been fun and memorable ended up with her getting pissed at me for something, and it would kind of ruin the experience. We would talk about it, she would eventually apologize, and we would move on. But it wasn't until recently that she realized I don't act the same as I used to at the beginning of the relationship. We're still affectionate and have a healthy sexual life, but she pointed out that I'm not as over-the-top gushy as I once was when we first started dating, whether it's the way I text, etc. I went silent for a couple days to spend a lot of time thinking about this, and I realized I resent her for these negative moments that would happen and that it's been affecting the way I am towards her. It made me sad to realize the difference in how we used to be because I still really love her. I know the honeymoon phase passes eventually, but we've only been living together for almost a year, and it's sad to think these negative moments with her have sped up the process. During my couple days of silence, she came into my room one night to try and get me to talk about things. I told her I wouldn't have much to say because I was still processing my thoughts and emotions. I didn't feel comfortable with her in there and said it was best if I just had some space right now. She kept pressing, and I tried to answer her questions as best I could. She said that she wanted anything from me, even if it was me telling her how much I hate her. Just something ridiculous. I eventually snapped because I felt cornered and told her things like, "Fuck you, get out," and "I don't like you right now." I feel bad in hindsight about this because, even though I was in an uncomfortable position, I know I should have controlled myself better. We had a talk, and I told her about everything because I knew it was a talk that needed to be had. I voiced my frustrations about how I felt it was unfair the way she would treat me at times when she would get pissed off at me. I've known that she feels really bad about how these things keep happening. She understood why I would have resentment that has built up, but she also made the point that at some point I'm going to have to learn how to forgive her as well. I agreed with this and said that this discussion where we can both acknowledge it's there in the first place is a good first step. We made up and started cuddling, touching, and kissing, just lying in bed with each other being affectionate for about an hour. We were both horny and were telling each other how we wanted to have sex. We usually have make-up sex, but she said that this time it was different and she didn't want what was discussed to be forgotten about. I was a little frustrated because she had teased me a couple times while we were cuddling, rubbing me down there with her hand and leg while I was hard. I just said that I understood, handed her her phone on her way out, and closed my door. I closed my door because she mentioned to me that I could jerk off, but I ended up not doing that. I went into the bathroom to trim my beard up and came back into my room to watch a YouTube video before I got in the shower. She came back to my room and waved. I waved back. Eventually, I got up to get in the shower without saying anything. After I was done and got to my room, she came back and said, "Are you mad at me for what I said? You're acting different." I told her that after all the emotions I went through with our discussion and the unreleased sexual energy, I just needed some time to chill out for a little while. I also voiced how I wasn't sure why she would tease me if she knew we weren't going to have sex. This was the truth and is why I didn't say anything to her the previous moment. Ironic considering the discussion we just had. I know. She stormed out after this, slammed her door shut, and started making a lot of noise. She was packing her things, and I was calmly trying to ask her through the door, "What's going on? What did I do?" etc. Eventually she said I made her feel guilty for not having sex with me by giving her the cold shoulder, and that it was evil. She said I just wanted to make up with her to have sex, and I shrugged her off when I didn't get that. I tried to tell her that I genuinely just needed some time to chill out after all the emotions and unreleased sexual energy, but I also knew there wasn't much I could do in that moment. I just listened to her perspective and told her I completely understood where she was coming from and that I was really sorry for coming off that way. I can see now how I came off that way and how I should have handled the situation better. But this was all pretty shocking to me because I know that she knows I'm not that kind of person. Did I expect to have sex? Honestly, yes, because we always have make-up sex. I don't think I was holding it against her, though, and I can understand how it seems that way from her perspective. All this just happened, and I'm still reeling. She left and is spending the night at a hotel. Am I screwed? Or is this a salvageable instance of her overreacting to something that I acknowledge I could have and should have handled better?